I'm Dr. Eileen Shake, and I'm in the College of Nursing, and I serve in 3 roles here at USC. I'm the director of our DMP and Organizational Leadership Program, and also director of the South Carolina Center for Nursing Leadership, and I'm also faculty.
And in the College of Nursing, Eileen was one of the pioneers of using this technology. And in fact, her course, which she is now teaching for the 5th time, was the 2nd course that we adapted for a fully online delivery. And I'm Vera Polyakova-Norwood, Director of Online Learning at the College of Nursing, and you can blame me if stuff doesn't work. But it has been an adventure. It has really been an adventure. And today we would like to share with you what we do with Adobe Connect. And our presentation will go beyond broadcasting lectures, because that is the obvious. That is probably what everybody has done. And, you know, our classes that used to be delivered through satellite broadcast are now delivered through Adobe Connect. So everybody's familiar with how lectures can be broadcasted via this technology, but this is not what we are going to talk about. We will go beyond that and look at more creative ways of using this technology. And because the time is limited, we're only going to present 5 things. Well, there are more, of course, because the sky is the limit if you have imagination. But we will focus on the 5 things. And when I was thinking, well, what 5 things can I select for this? Because we have really done multiple things. I kind of clustered everything to make them fit into these 5 categories. And I hope that it will make sense to you. So let's go ahead and look at this. Just a little bit of a background as to why we got into all of this. Well, our undergraduate classes are huge. We have 250 students in them. Well, how personal can you be with 250 students? On the other hand, it's nursing. So students have to have some clinical experience in healthcare agencies. And when you think about a class with 250 students, and on top of that, you are trying to give them that experience, we ran out of large classrooms that can accommodate 250 students. And we ran out of clinical placements. So students are going to their clinicals 7 days a week at all kinds of hours. So we've run out of academic space, we've run out of clinical placements, we have run out of hours in the day and days in the week. So we have to find a format that would allow us to resolve this scheduling nightmare. So in the undergraduate program, with the classes being as large as they are, we adapted selected courses to online delivery. In the graduate program, our audience is scattered all over the Southeast, and we cannot bring our students to one place at the same time, no matter how hard we try. So we have to be fully asynchronous. We have to reach across state lines. So this is how our students learn. Our master's and DNP, Doctor of Nursing Practice courses are almost entirely online. Students still have to come for clinical checkoffs with the faculty, but everything else, all the coursework is online. And we are now trying to adapt our PhD program to a blended delivery. We haven't figured out how much to blend and what and how, because that's a sacred cow. It's a PhD program, but it can no longer exist as a strictly in-classroom program because, again, Columbia does not provide us with enough students, so we have to reach at a distance. We are using the same technologies as everybody else, Blackboard and Adobe Connect Professional. We are not going to tell you how to use Adobe Connect. We are not going to go into technical details at all. because again, there are time constraints, and that's not what we do best. If you need more information about the technology itself, if you need an account, if you need technical training, then please contact Teaching and Technology Services. And this is the gentleman who will probably work with you, Mitchell West, and he is absolutely terrific when it comes to sharing information and helping you to get settled in that technology.
Yes, and I would like to add, he is wonderful from a faculty perspective and from a student perspective. He's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, he is our hero.
Yes.
I never knew what he looked like.
Okay, so those 5 creative ways to use this technology. Think about how you teach a course in the classroom. During the first class session, you always talk about the course. If you have a website, you would bring this up, show it to students, walk them through every part of the course, and we can do that with Adobe Connect, pretty much replicating that atmosphere of the first class. And okay, well, let's see how it's going to work. It always takes a little bit to get there.
Hello, my name is Dr. Joan Cullen, and welcome to Nursing 781. I'd like to take the next several minutes to really talk to you about the structure of the course, the format of the course, and the expectations. There's also a section called Live Web Meetings.
You can share the
this course is a little
screen.
bit different. We will have a final exam. You have a major project that you will be completing at the end of the course, and I will discuss this a little bit further. And for the final exam, after you have posted this project for all to see on your wiki, the rest of the group will be acting as a management team, and they will be developing questions to ask you as the IS team about the work that you have done. And we will schedule this synchronously for the final exam. And I hope within the first week or 2 of the course we can come together on a date. We will schedule this final exam.
So pretty much all of our fully online courses begin with this kind of recording that introduces students to the course and also teaches them the navigation through the course. And Eileen does this, and she also experienced it as a student, so your perspective.
Yes, well, first I want to say to any of you in here, if I can do this, you can do it. When I first came to USC, I was brand new to teaching. It was about 5 years ago, and thought I would come into teaching when I retired. That was my idea. But anyway, I was told, okay, we want you to teach this new course. It's not doing very well. And by the way, we also want you to teach it all online. So I took the summer working with Vera, and we created the course and the delivery mechanism. And today I can honestly say this is the best style of teaching since sliced bread, because I love teaching online. So from a student perspective, I was also in the Doctorate in Nursing Practice program here at USC, and I graduated in 2010. And so I was a student, so I can speak from the perspective of a student. It was wonderful, flexible. You do more writing when you're learning online versus being in a lecture class.
And with Adobe Connect, you can capture that nice, warm, and fuzzy atmosphere. As she is navigating through the course, you can see the students can see her talking, so they never lose sight of the instructor.
So that's an asynchronous part.
Yes.
You can log in there and see
Yes,
the
yes. This is a recording, yes. We do have synchronous little activities in our courses, but scheduling those is always a big headache because you have to mesh 5 or 6 different schedules, and you work a night shift and I work a day shift and she works an in-between shift, so always difficult. So most of what we do is asynchronous.
And the students may be on at 12 o'clock at night. I mean, their learning times are flexible.
Do you have strong opinions about using a webcam versus putting a photograph of somebody in that corner?
Well, what we hear from the students is that the photographs don't cut it anymore, because we are now living in such a rich multimedia environment. Everything moves everywhere, so they want the instructor moving too.
And also, there's a feeling of that personal contact
Yes.
that occurs when they see you. Now, that's not to say that everything has us actually speaking and moving and all of our feedback, but certainly we do these little recordings each week, and just a brief, here I am talking, and it kind of gives you a presence of the faculty member being there. They like those little kind of things. So.
And this is their first encounter with the instructor, so I do really think that for the introduction to the course, it is really important for the instructor to be seen, and don't freeze your camera, because students do want you to move and smile. This is a variation on the same theme. So you can do the introduction to the course, and then you can start providing feedback on activities. And in Eileen's course, there are 9 weeks of intense discussions. These are small group discussions. So she provides feedback to each group at the conclusion of the week. And this is how it works.
And they're working in think tanks.
We like to be a little bit more creative when it comes to naming groups. In some courses, they are nurse practitioner teams. In this course, they are think tanks.
Hello, Amber, Lydia, Molly, Meredith, and Christy. I hope you all enjoy discussing mega trends in nursing leadership, and also in discussing what characteristics, traits, and skills and leadership style you'd like to see in the leader for your organization. Now, what I have done today is develop a PowerPoint presentation that you could possibly use as you're recruiting your leader, or you're recruiting employees to come to work for your organization.
The think tank members these are nurse practitioners.
And the new leader will not only have a vision for MWCC, but also for future networks of mobile health clinics. MWCC embraces transformational leaders, and
So what the students are doing in their think tanks over the semester, first they're exposed to all the concepts of healthcare administration, and they have tools and understand how to create a new way to deliver health care. In the very, very beginning of the course, they're exposed to complexity theory and systems theory. So that promotes a new way of thinking. Then they're encouraged to create a total new way of delivering health care. And they actually develop a business plan, they identify funders, and then they present a multimedia presentation on their project. So it's packaged and ready to go. If they want to go out to venture capitalists, or if they want to try to get a grant, they're ready.
But feedback, we are providing feedback.
You developed a PowerPoint for this particular group.
I did.
Yes.
For this particular group,
Because what you saw from them, they needed some further information.
what they do during the week is they discuss, for 9 weeks, they discuss the content. They're also discussing ideas for their new project. And when I read the discussions each week, then I pull out pieces of where I think they need help or direction or insight. And as you all know, when you have a new idea and you're thinking about designing this new project, you're thinking from up on the 1,000-foot level. at some point you got to come down to the nitty-gritty details to figure out, okay, how are we going to make this happen? You know that old saying, the devil's in the details? And so then the students sometimes get so caught up in the details that you have to bring them back up to look again from the 1,000-foot level as they're creating something new. So that is what this particular week the feedback was about, helping them to start thinking about, okay, how are they going to present this from a bigger perspective?
But you got it right. It is just feedback on a piece of discussion, and Eileen is trying to kind of push them to explore what's on the edges. But doesn't it sound wonderful? You do your small group discussion, and every week the teacher talks back to you, helps you with the new ideas.
It's like a lot of work if you're working with multiple groups and you're creating a PowerPoint for each.
I don't do PowerPoints every week. It depends on where they're at. Sometimes I'm very creative in the type of feedback I give them. Sometimes it's written. Sometimes it's a combination of written and audio. Sometimes I'm giving them new websites to explore. It just depends on, once I've read their discussion, where I identify the needs are.
But this is just using the screen share feature and talking over your visual material. Mm-hmm.
I can see how this level of tailoring is very advantageous for these particular students. And this may be a little bit more beyond Adobe Connect and just sort of course delivery philosophy question, but one of the things I encounter with my students is that if I'm sharing something with one group of students, they all want to have access to that material, so that they're all able to get the things that are being delivered in smaller group settings. So if you make a PowerPoint presentation for think tank 2, are you somehow making that available to the others?
Yes, I do the same for each one. Now I make, depending on where that other group is, their project's totally different from Think Tank 2's, so their PowerPoint presentation will be different. Perhaps it's the name of their organization. Not that particular one.
Because it's project specific.
Right.
Now, in large enrollment courses, we pretty much do the same thing in large enrollment courses with 250 students, and we call it feedback on the week, and it would be a recording of a more general type posted for the entire class. But you would say something like, we've had a very productive week, you accomplished this, this, and that, you took a quiz, and everybody did very well, but I can see that you may need to concentrate on this particular little thing. Have a great weekend, and see you online next week. And that goes to the entire class. And again, it warms it up, it gives you a much deeper, richer presence in the course. And students see you actually work. What we discovered from doing midterm evaluations on every online course that we offer is that in some courses, students feel that the instructor is not doing anything, because they understand the lectures are pre-recorded. So that was done sometime in the past. What in the world is the instructor doing in this course? This actually makes your work visible, because you are doing a lot of work behind the scenes. You are reading discussions. You are looking at quiz results. You are trying to help them with the projects. But if they don't see you work, they just think, hey, the instructor's not doing anything and I'm teaching myself, which is not a bad thing, but they really need to see you work, and this visualizes it for them. This makes it tangible.
And Vera, to answer your question, I did teach one of our undergraduate classes with a large volume of students. It was Health Policy and Politics. And we actually did some very creative things in there. And we had the news, Vera, the news of the week or discussion. And so the feedback was presented to everyone.
Okay, let's move on to number 2, extending the same theme, doing screen capture and talking over it, and you can have a lovely technology tutorial.
Statistics, might I say. Now, I was a student in that class, so and it was great. Abbas was wonderful, And to provide this type of instruction when he was talking was very helpful.
So not just the soft, fluffy little pieces, you are doing quite well, and maybe you need to explore this idea for your project. You can actually teach some pretty intense, boring content. And again, the students see the instructor, and you can use these two little buttons here. I don't know if everybody's familiar. One is scale to fit, and the other one is enlarge or something like that. Then the screen becomes very clear, very large, very clear, and students have to scroll to keep up with the instructor. But they can see exactly what he is doing, and he is teaching them how to use SAS. So they can follow every move.
There's a question,
Uh-huh.
Vera?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, 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 yes.
Yes.
And then the blackboard here, in the blackboard side, it just says, this week, this is your homework, you are to do this, this, and that, and you are to follow this procedure. And he would show them exactly what to do, what the syntax is, and what the output will be. Then students go and do the exercise.
We
just
have a
following
very
the
nice
same
template
procedure.
we use with weekly course guides. It's set up very user-friendly for the students.
But
and-
everything that we do just by combining, we do it by combining Blackboard and Adobe Connect. So the links are posted in Blackboard. To presentation directly.
So when you said that they have to scroll to keep up with the instructor, is that only because it's recorded?
Well, it's because it's recorded and you are magnifying the screen.
Okay. But if they were doing it synchronously, would the professor scrolling occur on the
If you do it
screen?
synchronously, no.
They would still
No.
have to scroll?
So the recording is actually much better for this type of thing because you have those two buttons in viewing a recorded session. But in this particular course, he uses both recordings for instruction, and then if students get stuck on something and they need individualized attention, then he would invite them to a live meeting and go through the screen share and try to make it work for them.
Here, does the student control the scale? Or is it the
Yes.
instructor?
No. This is the feature of the software. When you view a recording, you can enlarge the screen. And then you have the scroll bars, and you have to do your own scrolling.
Okay.
Or
When
you-
the instructor's recording it, I'm confused about who exactly enlarges it. Is it the student or the instructor?
The student on the viewing end of
Okay,
things.
okay.
The instructor is just sharing the screen.
And if it is synchronous, and we're presenting feedback, whatever it is, and we can have a live consultation meeting going on, and we'll show you that in a minute, then the instructor controls the screen.
So you kind of have to play with these things and see how it works. But you see how you go from recording a nice, warm and fuzzy, you've done well this week, to actually let's take a look at how SAS works. So previously we just talked about what the instructor does, but students can do things in Adobe Connect too. And if you are planning to bring students into doing some work with Adobe Connect, then of course you have to provide a detailed guide on what it is that you expect them to do. So you have to really think through that activity, every step of what the student will do, and provide them with the tech support, contact information. And again, Mitchell West is going to be the one working with them. It's Mitchell West or Chris Brown. We do conduct practice sessions for students because they have to set up webcams, or they have to know how to activate webcams if they are inbuilt in their computer. And they have to be familiar with the browsing technique in Blackboard. They have to know how technology works. And if students have to do presentations or conduct their own meetings, then you have to set up a class account. And all of that can be worked out with teaching and technology.
Does Mitchell or Chris do the practice sessions, or do you do it?
No. Practice session would be either the professor or somebody like me. I volunteer to practice with the students. And this is how it looks like. Most of these sessions happen at night, so we are connecting from home, and we tell the students, practice from the computer that you will be doing the work in. Again, most of our students work crazy hours, so these sessions take place at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. They log in, and we try to work out the technical kinks. I explain the navigation. We try using several features, and they work with their microphones. Once everybody's comfortable, that's it. Usually it's about 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes per student, if their technology works. But I schedule this for an hour and a half or 2 hours and invite students from all courses that require work in Adobe Connect to participate. Once they participated in one session, they are ready to do it all. It's not really that difficult. So, students working. We use small group meetings in Adobe Connect pretty much in every graduate course. We like group projects, and very often, you're working with a group of students online, you are doing your best to get organized, but you know how you get stuck because of organizational issues, or there's something that needs clarification on that project. Then these meetings are invaluable. And Eileen can describe one of them more.
Yes. I'll share a recent consultation meeting that I had with a group of students who are really struggling on what type of healthcare delivery organization they wanted to create. They had wonderful ideas. And we had a live meeting, a consultation meeting. And by the end of the meeting, they had worked through some of those struggles and identified what their topic would be, and now a week later they're just soaring towards creating this new delivery model of care. And from a faculty standpoint, these meetings are invaluable. From a student perspective, being a student also in the past in the program, they're very valuable. And the wonderful thing is you do it from home, so these individuals might be located all over the region. I had a student who had to go to Germany during the semester, and she's able not to miss a beat and be right online with us. They just come in, and it's very clear, and it's wonderful.
There's a certain methodology that supports all of this. These meetings happen in courses with projects. A group of students has to be working on a fairly large and complex project. And students need to consult with an expert. So the faculty member becomes an expert. We tell the students, get organized. Mm-hmm. These meetings are mandatory, because if you don't tell them that they're mandatory, that they have to come, they're not going to come. The scheduling difficulties will overwhelm everything, and they're not going to come if it's not mandatory. So at least one consultation meeting before the project is due is always mandatory, and students have to tell the instructor when they are available. So they negotiate the time. The instructor posts their availability, and then the students select the time slots that are convenient for the majority of them.
Right, we set up a wiki.
Yes.
And the students can go in and set up and select the time that the professor has noted that they're available. They do prepare an agenda before the meeting as well. That's very important to keep us organized. And if someone's having technical difficulty with their audio or visual, no problem, because we also have the ability to chat.
But these are very, very student-centered and student-driven. The instructor will answer any question, anything that the students will ask. But the instructor is not going to be giving information that the students do not request. So that forces them to organize. And sometimes, when I review these meeting recordings, you can see students consult their notes and look all over the place, and I would say, you have a question? Do you have a question? Now, who prepared the questions?
And was this an exam, Vera? Was this our
No. This
exam?
This
Okay.
is a project consultation, and you can see that an agenda for the meeting was submitted to the instructor prior to the meeting. The instructor copied it and pasted it into the discussion pod, so everybody can see we have a meeting with an agenda, and we really need to be moving.
And I'm a student, as you'll see in this particular one. I'm not. Yes.
So this is how we run this show. It really depends upon how the instructor feels about it. It is really a good idea to have it recorded if students agree to the recording of the meeting. And then the recording is made available to the team members. Sometimes they have to come back to that recording and review it several times just to make sure that everything has been followed on. And these meetings usually last about an hour and a half, depending upon the agenda, the depth of the questions, and how much help students need from the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. I mean, these recordings are really wonderful. So, number 4. Now, this is independent student work. For this, students need to have a class account so that they can set up their own meeting room and make a recording of the presentation. And this is what it...
And this is real. There is a nematode school. There's a nematode, and this is in North Carolina, believe it or not. When I saw the name with this group, I'm like, where did they get that name? And then I went online. Sure enough, the demographics were right there, nematode.
And the feel of this is like presenting a business proposal to a funding agency.
To our business plan. This is for nursing at 734 in the fall of 2010. Our proposal is for the Nematode School-Based Health Clinic. In collaboration with Nematode Medical Center, this health center will manage health issues critical to continued academic success and promote healthy lifestyles, provide uniform documentation of care and monitoring for chronic health conditions, improving long-term outcomes.
That was one of our students.
Okay. Now, if you are going to do anything like that in your class, you have to work with the students to make sure that they can pull it off technologically. In Eileen's class, prior to doing that kind of work, students meet with her in that web consult meeting so that they are fully conversant in the technology, and this is not so much a technological challenge as working with the course content and preparing a presentation. And this is a presentation of a business proposal to a funding agency. So Eileen does expect a certain manner of delivery. And then the link to a presentation is posted to a class discussion board so that other groups can look at it and critique.
Right. In the end, they invite the other groups to preview their presentation. So it's a formal process.
But again, you have to work with the students to make them comfortable with technology. And it is not fair for all of us to dump all of this work on poor Mitchell West. Because if he quits, we're all in trouble. so we all need to do our fair share and structure the course so that the students are introduced to this technology early on. They have opportunities to get in, to test all the features, to play with it, and then they deliver this kind of presentation. It works very well for Eileen.
And I would like to say, from a faculty perspective, in the end, when it comes time to do this, over 5 years, the students are ready. They know how to do it. They're not panicking and calling and saying, how do I do it? They've figured it out. They've done enough over the semester that there's no problems.
Okay. No role play in a fully online course, no face-to-face encounters anywhere with anybody. We have a course in advanced nursing leadership, part of which focuses on communication, solving problems in the workplace through communication techniques. Students write scenarios for difficult conversations, for situations that involve difficult conversations in the workplace. Then we swap these scenarios among teams, and then students set up their own meeting rooms and work with their team members to write, rehearse, and make a recording of a conversation with a negative outcome, which is exactly what happens in the workplace, which is, why that is a difficult situation. And then they turn this situation around by utilizing communication techniques, which they learned in the course.
This is conflict management.
And this is actually very, very neat. And look at the facial expressions. This is why we have this technology. This is why we need webcams, so that students can really experience the richness of this communication. Sometimes they even dress up because they are playing specific roles. Like if you look at that lady with a string of pearls, she's a manager. And she is talking to a nurse, so they have a conflict to work out. And then these other two, you could tell they're arguing with each other. This involves a lot of teamwork, because students have to, write a conversation, write a script for a conversation within a specific scenario. They have to decide who is going to play what role, and then they have to practice, and then they have to practice again and practice some more and keep making these recordings. And when they are satisfied with the outcome, then they can post these recordings for review by their teammates, and if approved by the teammates, then it goes to the class discussion board, and we conduct a general critique session. But again, this is kind of interesting, and I made a video from one of these recordings, so we can show you what.
And what the team does, they demonstrate the wrong way to handle a conflict situation, and then they come back and demonstrate the right way. So they provide two different ones.
On your unit, the staff dislike having to deal with this particular position because each encounter with him, regardless of the situation, causes a blow-up. It's gotten so bad that it actually caused a negative outcome for one of your visitors held off calling the doctor and told me. To report this situation to administration, and as you would expect, they fully support the doctor. Partially because he's a big moneymaker for the hospital, and partially because they just don't want to have to deal with him either. Basic message you hear is, just suck it up and get over it. Chris is a new hire at this hospital. She has some out-of-range vital signs and other data to report to Dr. Moore. She's heard rumors about Dr. Moore's behavior and joins the battle well-armed. To present first, the wrong way.
Good evening, Dr. Moore. My name is Mrs. Donovan. I'm the nurse taking care of Mr. Cannon. I'm calling you because there's been a recent change in his status. His blood pressure is 80/42, and he has a temperature.
Temperature. Of course he has a temperature. Everybody who is not dead has a temperature. Do you mean he has a fever? Stupid nurses are all alike. No wonder my patients live in my practice. If you get the care they needed here at this hospital, they wouldn't be moving over other hospitals.
Oh, actually, Dr. Know-It-All, even dead people have a temperature. It just happens to be a lot closer to room temperature than yours or mine.
All right. Now we're going to present a better way. Chris is able to do the one thing.
Well, this kind of gives you an idea of what's going.
This really happens, I can assure you, too. It really happens.
And then the right way of doing it, of course, the conversation is not quite as hilarious, and it's longer, and the nurse utilizes specific communication techniques from that textbook that they had to read, and there's a different outcome. She calms the doctor down and reminds him that they have a common goal, and tells him what she's going to do, what she really, really needs him to do, because he's the only one who can do that, and that she will even remind other nurses that he doesn't like it when they call fever a temperature. But it really is a nice way, and students did that all on their own. That particular recording was several years ago when Adobe Connect was not working quite as well as it is working now. So now students have an easier experience doing this kind of thing than when we were just getting started. Extending that theme of role play, in the informatics course, the professor thought that what is missing in asynchronous online courses is an opportunity for students to react to something on the spot, to answer questions spontaneously, to defend their positions in a spontaneous discussion. So we came up with this activity which counted as a final exam. After the presentation of the project, everybody had to look at the presentations posted on the class discussion board, and everybody had to come up with questions that they were left with after reviewing the presentations. Then the whole class got into an Adobe Connect meeting room, all 21 of them, plus the instructor, and I was invited to participate to kind of take care of the technological end of it. So all 23 of them into one meeting room. The instructor posted the order of presentation. Then she would call on a specific group, and the members of that group activate their webcams and microphones, and so they become visible. The rest of the class is submitting questions to them through the chat room. The instructor selects a question and then calls on a student to answer it. And that was on the spot.
Right. So you're actually defending your proposal. In this particular class, I was a student, and we created and our particular team created a new delivery system for providing online learning to hospital systems. And ours was focused on a heart hospital. So we had to develop a platform, identify what software programs we were going to use, cost it out, identify everything that we needed in the organization. And then we had to defend why our proposal was the best, because we were really competing, because the hospital was really deciding which of the 4 groups project they would choose to implement. So that's why we had to defend with the questions.
And one of the students said, each team had about 20 minutes. Each of the students each of the team members had to answer 1 or 2 questions selected by the instructor. So everybody got an opportunity to do something spontaneously. This was a graded activity. And one of the students, when we were debriefing this activity, said that it was the longest 20 minutes that she ever experienced.
Yes, because you're just waiting for that next question. Yeah, I was one of those students, so.
Mm-hmm.
I just wondered about group sizes. I noticed you have 6 or 7. Have you found kind of an
5.
optimum level, so to speak?
5.
5?
Mm-hmm.
I think one of those people is the instructor.
It is.
Yes. The lady in red, in the red jacket, is the instructor.
When you guys have multiple people on like that, with multiple microphones on, do you ever have problems with feedback or anything like that?
Yes,
Have you
and
guys addressed that?
the key is to hold to talk, and you have the little hand that you can raise, just like if you were in class. Same.
So not everybody has a microphone on.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
That's why we have to practice.
That's right.
And of course, by this time, students are pretty comfortable with the software. And don't try anything like that on their first login to Adobe Connect, because it will be a pandemonium.
Do you have problems with bandwidth with all the cameras on and running? Do people start choking?
Only if students connect on a wireless connection. But we tell them they have to be on a hardwired connection, and that they have to practice, and that making their technology work is their responsibility, not the instructors. We give them opportunities to practice, to use the technology before something big occurs in the course.
And by no means does that mean they can't use wireless, because you probably are thinking, oh my gosh, well, everything's wireless. I mean, some of our students could be at the airport, at the time. Most of the time, though, they plan, especially if it's an exam, and rarely do they have to all be there at the same time. So they can use wireless, but we've just found that if you're connected to a landline, you have fewer interruptions with the Adobe.
And then we only ask for 5 or 6 of them to be there with their microphones at the same time. They were taking turns. The teams were taking turns
Talking.
at the podium. So
you wouldn't do 23 people on?
no. And so the pictures then would be so small and so many of them, it becomes meaningless. Whereas in a group of 5 or 6, you can still follow their facial expressions, and the instructor can control who takes which question.
Yes.
Are you doing these inside of Blackboard, or
Now, this is in Adobe Connect.
Right.
The link to the meeting room is posted in Blackboard, but this is now Adobe Connect.
Blackboard can be so slow. So
No, but that's Adobe Connect.
taking the link is just
The link is in Blackboard, and then once they click on it, they are out of Blackboard, they are in Adobe Connect. But then, of course, that's why we have to practice, and that's why we do consultation things before they come to. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And Vera has said practice. And don't panic and think, oh my gosh, when am I going to find all this time to practice? Practice just means try it a few times, and then it works. It works. It's not like you've got to consistently practice.
And just in general, have a good time. And Eileen and I, when we were working on her course, were meeting in Adobe Connect just to kind of get a feel for how we can use it. And we drank many a cup of virtual coffee together, had a good time, and try it and see what you can do. And if you have any questions to us, then later, then please free to contact us through email, and we are happy to share what worked for us with you.
And remember, if I can do it, you can do it.
And thank you so much for coming to this session.